All right, guys, so today we got to talk about Dan Crenshaw, a Republican from Texas in the U.S. House of Representatives, who at one point was pretty popular among conservatives when he first got elected, okay? He's a vet. He ran on a campaign with a lot of fancy ads, said a whole lot of things that sounded great at the time. But like a whole lot of politicians, once they get into office, and they're there for a few years and they feel comfortable, they start to reveal themselves for who they really are. And a lot of people characterizing this guy as John McCain with an eye patch, okay? That's what they're saying. Because, again, he has said some stuff, particularly about conservatives, that a lot of people don't really like, right? He said some things about the base that a lot of people ain't really jiving with, okay? Now, in this case, Dan Crenshaw is one of these guys that, like John McCain, he's never seen a war that he didn't want to fight, okay? Which, I mean, I understand. He was in the military. Props to him, you know? I can't really say anything about that. But at the same time, I think he has to read the room in regards to how the American people feel about going to war. And I think a whole lot of people are just tired of the wars, okay? I mean, for a lot of people's lifetimes in this country, we've always been at war, right? We've always been in some type of major war, okay? And now, for once in our lives, we're not really involved in any major wars. Now, we're involved in some proxy wars with Russia and, you know, some other countries overseas and stuff like that, but nothing crazy, right? Nothing crazy, okay? However, with that being said, as you guys know, with this Ukraine-Russia crisis happening, the politicians have been beating the war drums, okay? As you have some politicians, Republicans out here basically advocating for a no-fly zone. Now, that's not Dan Crenshaw per se, but there are Republicans that are doing that, which is creating an interesting divide within the party. Healthy debate is what I would like to call it. Unlike what's going on the left, Democrats are in unison in regards to how they feel about Ukraine and Russia and everything going over there. They're NPCs, right? All of them have Ukrainian flags in the bio, right? But that's not the case with people on the right, because people on the right tend to be free thinkers, right? They're not going along with the narrative. And because of that, you've had people on the left and some people on the right as well too accuse people on the right who aren't necessarily going along with the pro-Ukraine narrative 100% of being pro-Putin, right? Of pushing Putin talking point, which basically means any narrative that doesn't go along with what the Western media is putting out there, okay? Basically, if you say anything outside of Putin's an evil dictator, he's racist, homophobic, and sexist as well too, and he was not provoked to invade Ukraine by NATO expansion. There was no coup in 2014 in which a neutral to pro-Russian leader of Ukraine was ousted by groups that some people may characterize as extremists that were backed by the U.S. and Europe. And there's no biolabs in Ukraine as well either, right? So if you say anything outside of that and you don't have a Ukrainian flag in your bio or you don't own a Ukrainian flag, then you are repeating pro-Putin talking points. And Dan Crenshaw was actually confronted about this on Fox News, and I want you guys to watch this exchange. Take a look.
I think what's interesting to me politically, and you're a politician on the ground speaking to constituents every day, I think within the base of the Republican Party, maybe not at the political level or at the elite level, but among the base, I do think there is a discussion about the role of America, about the way we lost our last two wars, about the exit from Afghanistan, about whether we should do provocative things with this particular administration, which is so incompetent at the head of it. I think that's a really healthy discussion that we're having, and I believe it's happening on the Republican side. Interestingly to me, the Democrats are united in a different way, and anything that gives a different perspective to, say, your position, Congressman, people are being called Putin, supporters, or they're traitorous. I mean, my Twitter is full of that. What can you talk to us about the need for Americans to be able to have these discussions and talk about it? Because the answers are not clear cut. There are good arguments on either side. And I don't see even where's Cindy Sheehan? I don't know where that side of the party and the Democrat side went. There seems to be no more hippies left.
Yeah, I don't think it's as evenly split as you make it seem on the Republican side. I think it's a very small minority that believe that we shouldn't care about anything that goes on in the world.
That's
now,
not
look,
what
that's
I said,
only,
though.
I know, but that's what a lot of people say, and they do repeat Putin's talking points, and that's a problem when they start repeating Putin's talking points, repeating lies about Ukrainians. That's a problem. And unfortunately, it gives the left something to latch onto, which is an inaccurate description of how the right feels. There's always going to be a discussion in America about what we should be involved with. That's always going to be a discussion. I would say this: alliances do matter. What we do actually does matter. What happens around the world actually does affect us at home. It is naive to believe otherwise. That will always be the case no matter what. Yeah. And it is not America first to watch around the world as Russia and China take over and destroy our allies. That's America last. That's America cowering in and not doing anything about it.
I appreciate your perspective, but since you did say that's repeating Russian talking points, I'm just going to have to push back. I'm not repeating Russian talking points. No, but I think there's a lot of. Well, I think I represent the way a lot of other conservatives feel, and I don't think they're repeating Russian talking points. I think what they're doing is they're not isolationists. They're seeing, for example, the alignment of China and Russia because of the way this war was handled. I think they're seeing a lot of things, and I think on the Republican side, saying they're repeating Russian talking points, I think shuts down conversations and doesn't allow us to have a robust debate, which we should be having.
That's repeating Russian talking points. When you claim that the money is going to neo-Nazis and only neo-Nazis, that's repeaing Russian talking points.
I've never heard that, but
okay. It's happened from fellow lawmakers. It's a real problem. It's not from you. Don't take this as I'm talking about you. I don't even know what you've said about these things.
Right.
But there has been some problems with how these things have been represented. And then what do the Russians do? They take this biolab conspiracy and they run with it. If you actually analyze social media, that wasn't a story for Russians until people here domestically started making that a conspiracy. All right, that's a problem.
Right. It is a problem.
Yeah, so biolabs in Ukraine is actually not a conspiracy. It's actually a fact. It is an actual fact admitted by the U.S. Secretary of State, okay? She's flat out admitted it. Now, these guys, it's almost like they just miss nuance, okay? It's almost like they're so terrified of just people asking questions, just basic questions, and acknowledging basic facts. Yeah, there are biolabs in Ukraine with, potentially dangerous pathogens, okay, and diseases that, if compromised, could possibly, be used as a weapon and or spread across the world. It's almost like these people are so afraid to just acknowledge that basic fact for a reason. And they have to twist that into people are saying that the U.S. is developing bioweapons in Ukraine. And that's not what people are saying. It's not what they're saying. The nuance is lost, right? And immediately, as soon as you even just ask anything about the biolabs and say, hey, what's going on with this? You're labeled as a traitor, treasonous, and a conspiracy theorist, which is what Mitt Romney did to Tulsi Gabbard. The View did to Tucker Carlson. And Dan Crenshaw just basically went on TV and said that, yeah, if you're saying things like that, okay, or if you say things about, funding certain groups in Ukraine that might be extremists, you're repeating Russian talking points, even though some of this stuff is documented. If you look in certain parts of the internet, right, if you look deep enough, some of the stuff there might have some credibility to it. But he says, no. If you say that, it's Russian talking points. But what I want to know is not whether or not you consider it a Russian talking point. I don't really give a damn about what you consider to be a Russian talking point. What I give a damn about is what is the truth, right? Is it true or not? Just because something is a Russian talking point doesn't mean that it can't be the truth, right? Again, that's what's being missing from this conversation here. But with that being said, there are obviously lies and misinformation and propaganda coming out of Russia. My point is that the world is not black and white. It is actually gray. And what these politicians don't realize when they do this, when they smear anybody who doesn't go along with the narrative as a conspiracy theorist or a Putin puppet or whatever, they're actually really promoting conspiracies. They're making people believe the conspiracies more because of how hostile these people are to people just simply asking questions or providing an alternative narrative or a more nuanced narrative. So with that being said, Dan Crenshaw, like these other politicians, he's out here pushing the propaganda, right? The pro-war with Russia propaganda, while at the same time trying to say that he's not really pro-war, but he actually really is. As he posted this Instagram post of the Zelensky talk, in which Zelensky came to the U.S. and use 9/11 and Pearl Harbor as a way to get our politicians to say yes to a no-fly zone over Ukraine, which basically means World War III, right? So he came to the U.S. to ask for World War III, and Dan Crenshaw goes on Instagram and kisses the ring, okay? And people in the comment section weren't having it because of some things he said in the caption that I want to go over. So let's read here. Quote, "The U.S. Congress listened intently to Ukrainian President Zelensky. His testimony was heart-wrenching. He played a video filled with footage of the atrocities being committed by Russia. No, it wasn't propaganda. It was real life. The propaganda is being perpetuated by Russia and only Russia. Full stop." Okay, so this guy really went on Instagram and said that the only propaganda being perpetuated is by Russia and Russia only. There's no propaganda that comes from the West, right? There's no propaganda from CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, none of that. There's no propaganda there, right? It wasn't propaganda when we told the world that there was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, right? It wasn't propaganda, okay? It wasn't propaganda at all. And I'm just using a historical example here just because this guy is basically acting like when it comes to these conflicts with these different countries, like both sides aren't putting out things that they want their people to see, right? That is going to help their people be sympathetic to the cause that their countries say that they're for. He act like that's not a thing when it's totally a thing on both sides. And people in the comment section were smart enough to realize and to look through this BS, right? As he got obliterated for this, right? This is the stuff that war hawks say to drag us into another never-ending war. We've heard this before. The idea that propaganda is one-sided in itself, propaganda, facts. I wish Congress was more concerned about our borders in America. Stop warmongering. This is not our fight. America has no business getting involved. We are in no position to help other countries when our country is in such a mess. No more war. The U.S. needs to mind their own business and let Ukraine handle Ukraine. A no-fly zone is an escalation of our involvement. No more wars. Have we learned nothing? Heart-wrenching. While the cynical part of my brain wonders how many members of Congress were opening their fidelity apps to increase their position in military contractors and suppliers. You're trying to say there's absolutely no propaganda from Ukraine. Come on, bro. That's like saying the USA has never done any propaganda. The US should not get involved in this. Keep us out. No to war. It's hard to trust a leader that shut down news stations and jailed the opposition leader. I thought they were winning. Damn, no wars. Fix this country. Stop sending American money to other countries as we suffer. Are any of these men going to fight in the war? Saying the U.S. did not provoke Russia with eastward NATO expansion is exactly what a warhawk politician would say. Nuevo Laredo was literally attacked. That is in your state, in case you forgot. So, yeah, he's getting demolished in the comment section here, okay? Like, nobody is buying into what this guy is saying whatsoever. And it's honestly really even more ridiculous considering the fact that this guy, Dan Crenshaw, actually tweeted out what is the definition of propaganda here, right? As he tweeted out every fake story from Ukraine. Snake Island says, go F yourself. Goes to Kyiv, kills 5 Russian jets by herself. Woman passes out sunflower seeds to Russians so they'll grow flowers when they die. 25-year-old woman says she'll make Molotov cocktails this weekend. Ukrainians are fighters. Putin can go to hell. So he tweets out basically all fake news for the most part. But yeah, he's saying that the only propaganda here comes from Russia. Again, I don't know how many times this guy can embarrass himself. Like, I really don't. It's like, dude, like the fact that you're out here perpetuating this idea that, you know, there's only one side of the story and that anybody who questions that one side of the story, they're repeating Russian talking points. They're traitors, okay? That in and of itself is literally propaganda, okay? But this guy, for whatever reason, can't read the room and understand that there's a lot of people in this country that simply are tired of this. We've been through this before, okay? It's like the boy who cried war, right? That's what we are at this point, okay? And some people just like, you know what? I'm tired of sending billions and billions of dollars overseas to these other countries that really don't give a damn about us to help them when we should be spending that money here at home, Okay, we got homeless vets. We got a border that is being invaded every single day. And we're paying more attention to somebody else's border than our border. That is not a pro-Russian talking point. That is not a pro-Putin talking point. That is a pro-America talking point. That's a let's take care of us first, and then we'll worry about other people. But right now, America needs help. And we're sending our resources to other countries because we're trying to fight a war for them that, quite honestly, again, the return on investment is just simply not there. Okay? Hey, I wish the best for Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. I wish the best. It is in our interest for them to fight back against Russia and to not be taken over by Russia. But at the same time, it's like, well, you know, hey, there's only so much that I'm willing to do, right? And a lot of American people just like, nah, we really don't want to extend all these resources and send Americans overseas to die for a cause that really doesn't have a great return on investment for us. It's nothing wrong with that, okay? It's nothing wrong with that. But again, what we have here is what happened in Iraq, right? When you spoke out against Iraq war back in 2004, whatever, 2003, you basically were canceled, okay? That's what happened. You got canceled if you question the Iraq war at all. That is kind of what's happening here with this whole Ukraine thing, okay? Because these politicians, they want to line the pockets of the military-industrial complex and themselves, right, as an extension from going to war and participating in this conflict. But hey, let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.